Hi everyone, welcome again to day one of Campus Party Australasia. And we are going to introduce in our second session right now. And this session is titled The Design and Making of a Home-Based Learning Table for Children. And we're going to bring in John Chan and his colleague and team from chemistry. Hi, John.
Hello. Hi, Ivan.
So the title of your session is quite a mouthful, but I can assure the listening and viewing audience, right, that there's a whole world of meaning for you to unpack in that one sentence. Yeah, and so I don't want to. I said earlier I don't want to preempt what you're going to share. Maybe I'll just do a very quick intro, right? So John and his team are from strategic consultancy, chemistry, right, and I'll let John introduce himself, do all the talking. This segment is going to be interactive. So again, you're encouraged to post your questions into the chat box. And there may be one or two other surprises, right? But over to you, John, right now.
All right. Cool. Thanks, Ivan. Yeah. We're very happy to be here on Campus Party. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to share a little bit about, I think, a project that we're working on during this COVID-19 period. So I hope that this session is also not only us talking and sharing what we've done with you guys, but it's also a two-way conversation, right? So built into our session, there will be certain moments that we will invite the audience, you guys that are watching, to basically share your thoughts. So keep your phone close to you because you'll be using your phone and you'll be using Mentimeter to engage with you guys as well. Yeah.
Sounds good.
I do have a presentation that is ready, so we can also use that. I'll introduce the guys in those slides too.
Okay, then let's go straight into your session.
Great, thanks, Ivan. Nice. Cool. So for the next hour and a half, I think we're going to share with you a little bit more about a COVID-19 project that we did. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we really want your participation in this session. So we want to discuss your experiences in the past 4 months through this, at least in my opinion, very surreal pandemic period. Yeah, so have your phones ready. And let's keep all the Singapore GE polling day discussions and political discussions on Reddit, right? So let's focus on the topic. Okay, so with me today is actually Kiashing. He is a colleague of mine at chemistry. He's basically an industrial experience designer. I think if I may speak for him, he's passionate with motorcycles. We also have Christian with us. So he's one of the 3 long-haired dudes we have in the office. If you look at the slide, you can see beside Christian, there's another one, and beside the other one, there's another one. So the 3 of them form our 3 heavenly long-haired dudes. And with us also today, we have Daryl. So Daryl is also an industrial designer, and he's actually interning with us all the way to December. So he's going to be very involved in the project as well. So together, the 3 of them will be also facilitating in the discussions later, and we are from chemistry, strategic design consultancy, with offices in Singapore and in Amsterdam. So I thought I'll just share a little bit with you about who we are, just a very quick one. So for Singaporeans, you may have passed our office along Victoria Street and you have seen this, and this is an interesting snippet, somehow our logo surfaced on some kind of stock image bank and the description in it was a nightclub in Singapore. I guess the kind of stainless steel logo on the shop house kind of gave us that impression. But beyond that, a lot of people ask, so why the name chemistry? The name is actually founded in the belief that we have that great ideas come from a synergy of minds. Not necessarily like-minded minds, but open-minded minds. And this is also something that I think we have validated through our 20 years as practitioners in our experience that So a lot of the success of projects depend heavily on the chemistry that we have with the team, the clients, our partners, and basically all the people that we work with. So chemistry is really something that we believe strongly in. Beyond chemistry, I think like our approach has always been very much about people. So putting the user at the core of our work. So being solution agnostic, we bring, let's say, the physical environment through product as well, digital touch points, as well as processes together to kind of create these relevant and meaningful experiences through products and services. So that's kind of in a nutshell, like our approach and what we do. Last slide I have on us. So we don't specialize in any one specific industry sector, and the experience that we gathered across the past 20 years really cut through a wide range of projects. So this range from healthcare to telecommunications, fintech, retail, consumer products, hospitality as well. And this is one of the values that I think that we can bring to the table, as well as we learn from adjacent industries and bring them into new and relevant contexts. So for example, we work quite a lot in healthcare, and we work a lot in hospitality as well. So when we look at these two industries, we find that actually there's a lot of similarities and analogous like solutions that we can actually port and bring across, obviously tweaked in a different context, to allow actually new like experiences to happen within both industries. So that's in a nutshell who chemistry is. Now getting on, I guess, with the project itself on the home-based learning table. Let me just start a little bit with how it started. So back in, let's say, late March, where the COVID-19 situation was really escalating in Singapore, like most other businesses, we closed our office. We started working 100% remote from home. Yet, I think we wanted to see how we can participate and use what we do, use design to help in these challenging times. So we took a look at what was out there, so such as things like the United Nations global call out to creatives to help the spread of COVID-19. But a lot of these, let's say, platforms or campaigns where they're calling out for creatives to help in the COVID-19 situation was very much awareness and communications based, right? So something that might be more akin to what advertising agencies might be better suited to actually tackle. Interestingly, coincidentally, an old client from India reached out with a very interesting potential collaboration where he wanted to find out whether we were interested in developing and designing a wearable sanitizer dispenser, right, to basically target outdoor situations such like if you have to handle cash and you have no access to washing your hands, etc. You always have this wearable that you can basically sanitize your hands. Yeah, so while we read it, I think it's a really interesting idea to do, but we weren't entirely convinced or sure that the opportunity and the challenge was actually something that was real and relevant in the current, especially in Singapore. So this actually drove us down a path where we decided to, okay, let's walk the talk, do what we preach we do, and do our own research and validate if this was true. Right, so we wanted to basically find our own challenge to solve. So like we always take on a discovery process at the start. So taking a user-centered approach, generating empathy for users, understanding the current state of things for the user. So we started with an online survey. So we just very quickly put together a Google survey. We reached out, I think, to 168 people across age groups and geographies and gender. To try and understand a little bit more from a broader perspective what people were grappling with within these three domains of personal, professional, and community. So within each of these domains, I think through the research or the survey, we identified two key areas that people highlighted. So for example, personal challenges, staying at home and being quarantined was the biggest challenge. Working from home remotely was the biggest professional challenge. And the biggest community challenge is the lack of transparent and reliable updates and news. So with that in mind, we could actually focus in a little bit more and do a slightly more extensive research into speaking with people. Right? So we hooked up with 8 different people that we had contacts to that fit within the scope of, let's say, students, young professionals, families, retirees, and frontline staff, to try and understand their challenges specifically through their experiences and their stories. So there are some interesting stories that kind of surface on this. One of the more interesting ones just to highlight is we were speaking to some friends that around my age. They have kids as well, and kind of they're working from home, and their kids are also studying from home. And it was really a challenge for him to basically get into the whole productivity of working from home. So, like I mentioned, in this case, I mean, really, he's not the only one, and there are many families out there that are really challenged in terms of working from home because of the distractions their kids have. And this results in a lot of frustration and a loss of productivity. But that's also only just the average or the typical family, right? In the more extreme scenarios, families or children just simply don't have the space, they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have furniture to basically conduct home-based learning. And especially if we talk about children from lower income families and they have, let's say, 3 or more children living in tiny public housing flats, a lot of them were studying very uncomfortably on the floor in some of these pictures that you can see as well. Across the living rooms, kitchens, stationery and textbooks are basically strewn over the floor. Some of them even end up doing their classes or lessons in the staircase or the public spaces outside their homes. So this is something that we felt that beyond just, let's say, the notion of that, okay, it's not conducive to learn from home. I mean, I think it also affects also their overall well-being as well. So this kind of realization led us to this opportunity statement, which is how might we equip and provide children of underprivileged families a more conducive environment to perform home-based learning. So that really was the basis and the starting point of the home-based learning table project. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to actually, or rather, I'm actually going to take a break here. And Campus Party is not a one-way street. It's a dialogue that we want to have. So it's enough of me talking, and it's your turn to get more hands-on. So do reach out to that phone or laptop that you have. Go to menti.com and use the 6-digit code you see on screen, 797243. And you will find a challenge, or rather a question on that screen. Do type your answers and submit. So what is the main challenge you face when working from home during the COVID-19 pandemic? My colleagues Christian and Kiashing, they will also be facilitating the discussion. The two of them were also very heavily involved in the project from the start, so I'm sure they have a lot more insights that they can bring into this discussion. So we invite you to start sharing back if you can.
Thanks, John. Hi guys, I'm Christian. Yeah, one of the long hair guys from chemistry. Also, I'm a content designer. Basically, when we were running the interviews and the surveys for this project, we realized that a lot of the issues centered around particular pillars. Maybe Kashin can confirm this for me. So it's like mostly personal problems, professional problems, as well as community issues. I think in this context, looking at like more of the personal and professional problems is a bit more relevant. Yeah. So as you can see from the things coming in, distractions, too much family time, no work-life balance, sitting alone all day. Yeah. So I mean, along the lines of this ability that how can we like keep this level of conducive and productivity that we might have always had in the office, but instead at home. Yeah, so I think John was mentioning the call that we had with his friend, who is actually a lawyer, and he was telling us about, oh, you know how at home he has kids and he's doing like quite a heavy duty job, right? Like that requires him to be on the phone like for long periods of time and like peruse contracts that are like, you know, like endless and stuff like that. And even while he was telling us that on the phone, we could hear his kids like in the background like smashing plates and moving things around. So things like that were quite prominent. Yeah, so Kashing, let's look at some of the insights that are being thrown in.
Yep. I thought too much family time is an interesting one, because I think through our research we also realized that so everyone is working from home, and I think the problem itself isn't you working from home, but with the rest of your family members that there's also working from home. So you're fighting for a spot to sit down, or even for your washroom, etc. So yeah, that was something that came out during our research as well. Let's see.
Yeah. It's that fight for bandwidth as well, right? Like suddenly you have like 5 people like trying to wrestle your home router to its limit.
Yeah.
But I mean this idea of too much family time as well, I think it did come out in our insights as also sort of like a neutral point, like negative but also kind of positive, right? Like how, like, I think a lot of us, especially like designers, right, we don't really get to spend a lot of like meal times with our families. So I think there was quite a bit of insights about how like now we're kind of forced to sit at home and eat dinner and actually, learn about our families' lives, as we should. Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, one of the challenges that I definitely face on a personal level is it's really like, I think what a lot of the Mentimeter responses are as well. Like, how do you tell when you're on work and when you're off work? Because those lines are like, you no longer have that physicality of like, okay, I'm in the office, I'm doing work, and now I'm off work and I'm home and I'm spending time with my kids and my family, etc. So you end up like, I think it's also something that has been reported in articles that like you end up basically working a lot more when you work from home than working from the office.
Yeah, there's this point that's right there on the screen that right in the middle. Realize that we should not make back-to-back video calls just because we can. Yeah, I think that really does play into that, right? Like,
that's happening like right now, actually. Like every day.
exactly. Yeah, so I think it's quite a weird, maybe even a psychological thing, right? Like when we are at the office and we kind of have like, we see each other, right? We can see our colleagues stressing out behind their computers. So you kind of understand that, oh, there's this like, oh, everybody's kind of busy doing things. Let's slowly find out the availability of everybody before we plan a huddle or meeting or something like that. But that all gets suddenly removed when we are online. So just to bring it a bit full circle, like looking at all these insights that you guys are putting in, we wanted to as an agency as a consultancy to apply our methodology and figure out how we can maybe possibly create certain ideas or solutions, if you will, to help solve these issues or facilitate a better way of working from home.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like to one of the point that says my environment is not as conducive as compared to being in the office where it is quiet and comfortable. So I think even for the HBL table, through our research, we also found that the home is not as conducive as the school for the students. Therefore, that was one of the challenge that we were trying to solve as well. Yeah.
Well, I think like if we zoom in a little bit more in detail about the conducive, or rather the office being more conducive than the home, I think like at the end of the day, it's like, at least for me, it's a lot about privacy. Like personal experience, like I work at home with my wife, and like we share one study where both of us work from, and when someone's on a call, the other person needs to excuse himself, and basically the other person that excuses himself is working in like on the sofa or like on a counter that is basically not meant for working. So to the point of bad posture, tensions get high. These are all things that are definitely related to the challenge of working from home.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, on that topic as well, I think just bring it closer to the HBL table. I think a lot of the insights did indicate that children who are used to, like families with children, like school is the place for learning, right? Like how it is, like office is the place for work for us. But for us, we have furniture, we have like a desk at home and stuff like that to facilitate that work from home. So I mean, when this lockdown happened, a lot of us could just kind of like slowly figure out our processes at home because we already had the tools to do so. But I think a lot of the time for kids, especially those that are younger and a bit shorter, like regular furniture wasn't going to make the cut in terms of like maintaining some sort of like at least workable postures, so they end up on the ground, or like stopgap measures like using the back of a TV or the computer as a desk and sitting on the ground and stuff like that. So I think that's where we really did hone in.
Sweet. Shall we head back to the sharing?
Yeah.
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 Go for it.
Okay. So thanks everyone for really sharing. I think your challenges. I think there's a lot of like things that is you're not alone in when you're in terms of the challenge you're facing. So picking up where we left off earlier, we're gonna move on to now we have that opportunity statement that I shared with you earlier. This one right here. How do we actually move forward from here? So, as I kind of mentioned earlier a little bit that we happen to have be working 100% remote from home. Coincidentally as well, this late in the year last year, we also kind of opened up an office in Amsterdam. So it was kind of a very timely thing whereby we could actually have both teams in Amsterdam and Singapore work on the challenge topic remotely. So we employ like some of these collaborative cloud-based tools, and through that we kind of like work quite rapidly or as quickly as we can to kind of jam together a large number of ideas and to kind of filter out what works and what doesn't. And in that process, we kind of stumbled upon or remembered a project that we did actually 4 years ago. There's a little video that I believe we're going to be playing in a moment. Yeah, so I guess in the video you can tell that we really had a lot of fun on this project. But in all honesty, what we developed was really a cardboard table concept that can be literally flipped. So the whole idea of that was actually to bring across this idea where to create a more effective workspace, how can we actually relieve stress in the workplace, and kind of borrowing this very iconic or symbolic gesture of flipping a table as a way of like kind of communicating or releasing your stress levels or stress. We literally designed a cardboard table complete with a monitor, a pencil holder, keyboard and mouse, all made in cardboard, and as a installation, or rather almost like an art installation in the backdrop of Raffles Place in Singapore. We invited members of public and passersby to literally release their work frustrations at lunchtime by flipping a table. So there's a video here that you guys can tell, and for those who have watched the 2018 film Crazy Rich Asians, we by a very good stroke of luck, he walked by and we managed to catch this Hollywood star in our archives of maybe close to 100 different flip table videos on our Instagram. So do check it out, and if you scroll through all of them, you will find him in one of the 100 videos. So back to the home-based learning table. So with this idea that actually we do have the flip table in mind, and we wanted to actually do something where the whole idea of the whole solution that we put together was actually imperative that we release it to market in a very quick time. Because obviously there are these families that do need help, but at the same time we don't know how long this COVID situation is going to last, and we wanted to put it out there ASAP. So what we did was we redesigned and reappropriated the flip table into the home-based learning table, or what we call the HBL table. So in this redesign exercise, what we did was that we made sure that the dimension, the sizing was totally suitable for children between 9 to 12, and suitable for children between 4 to 8 years old. So this is something that could be done literally by flipping the table as well. So a bit of a little reference or homage to the original project back in 2016, whereby by flipping the table, you can set up different heights suitable for the different age ranges, and that allowed the table or the design to be used by children that is as small as 4 to as old as 12. So the other thing that we were very conscious about when we were redesigning the flip table to the home-based learning table is how it can support the learning activities and the development of the child. So very aware that these days, like in schools, even though you're talking about primary school or even like pre-primary school students, they are doing e-classes, they're using Zoom to do their learning. So apart from the table and the stool, we also included as part of the set a laptop or tablet stand. So this is something that allowed them to actually do e-learning a little bit better. And also we wanted to inculcate and develop like a greater sense of like ownership and creativity of these children. So along with it, we also designed this little cactus accessory that you can see in the background of the image. And because it was cardboard, it was something that I think we encourage what children would naturally do otherwise, which is basically to draw, to doodle, and to almost like just turn the table into your own personal piece of art. Yep. We're also very conscious about how this can be assembled. I mean, most people aren't very familiar with, let's just say, assembling a piece of furniture that is made out of cardboard. In fact, for most people, I would imagine it's the first time. So we tried our best to include within every set that it had a very straightforward visual, let's say, language-less or without descriptive text. Instruction manual almost on how you can assemble the stool, the table, the cactus, and also the laptop stand. And everything that you need to assemble the flip table is really part of the package. So you don't need to buy or use your own screws or cable ties or use a screwdriver to actually put this together. Yeah. So I believe that we've reached a time whereby we can actually bring some of the challenges that you shared with us earlier into some opportunities. And the team that's with me here has already like taken the liberty to synthesize and make some sense out of the challenges that you guys posted into these two sets of how might we. Christian and Cashin, you guys want to take it from here?
Sure, John. Yeah, so if you guys can just key in the code once again, you'll see two statements. I think the team has worked really quickly to like condense a lot of your insights into these two statements. So one, the first one, how might we ensure that work-life balance and mental health is maintained while working remotely? So more centered around this idea of mindfulness and maintaining some sort of balance between your work and your life. And the second one being that of a lot of things to do with productivity and distractions, about creating an environment that is a bit more conducive, or to mirror that of your office. To mirror your office at home, basically. So Kiashing. So I mean, I think during our previous ideation sessions that we did internally, we did tackle these two problems as well, right?
Yeah, we did. So I think that there, for the audience here, there isn't a right or wrong answer. So I guess you just select the one that you resonate the most with, that later on we will use this opportunity statement for the exercise lah. Yeah, and also there's a typo. Should be 2 instead of 3, but I think that's fine.
Oops.
We specialize in making typos actually.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, essentially what we're going to do with this right now is that we're going to take one of the How Might We statements, the one that you guys have upvoted the most, and we're going to do a little bit of an ideation exercise whereby we try to come up with quick agile solutions for these problems. And once again, it's not about, there's no right answer. I think that's something that we like to exercise a lot in our process as well. Anything works, like from like crazy ideas to like the most practical ideas as well. Yeah, so I mean, some of the ideas that did come out from the workshop that we did internally when solving this COVID challenge was basically that in terms of creating an environment that is more conducive, I think somebody from our team pointed out that certain furniture stores have been releasing like guidebooks on how to design your own home office, but it turned out as more like a sales kind of brochure, like, oh, buy our table because it's great kind of thing, rather than actually trying to look at the user needs. So one of the ideas was, why not we as designers, try and use our expertise to craft a guidebook that really helps people that are trying to set up their home offices at home. Yeah, maybe the industrial designers would like to chime in.
Yeah, I was thinking like looking at your video feed actually with the guitar that you have at the back, I was also so inspired to think like, is there an opportunity to actually use whatever people already have in their home to actually basically turn your home work-proof or more conducive through all the everyday items that people already have in their houses. So like basically just repurposing, I don't know, things like maybe it's a screen to make some partitions, maybe it is extra chairs to actually do something or to build partitions out of to create more privacy. So just looking into how we can use what we have to turn the home more conducive, or little tips to do so.
Yeah, I mean there was also ideas that we discussed, talking about how like can we redesign the space in the house, like in terms of the HDB housing in Singapore. So because now I mean I believe in the olden days there used to be areas that is catered for as a study room, but as more and more houses get built, the space lands get lesser, so then all these features, if you like, are being removed lah. So I think this whole pandemic has kind of make us think again that, okay, do we really need a dedicated space for us to work from home? If working from home is the future lah, or working remotely 100% from home is the future lah. So I think that's something for us to think about as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this discussion that has been like surrounding this issue recently is about like this new normal, right? Like what is going to be the new normal, even as time goes on from here. I mean, yeah, I mean, at least for us, we are still working from home, right? Like, and I think for the foreseeable future, we're gonna be here. So I mean, things to consider, like as you said, Kashing, like having a dedicated space at home, like what do we need to consider from a design point of view, like rather than just having the space and the power and all that kind of stuff? Is there a way we can design it such that young parents, for example, can create some sort of sound barrier from the rest of the house? If it's going to be in a common space in the house, how can we make it such that it's as conducive as possible? Like, what elements from the office can we take and migrate it to this sort of home design, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, or it can be maybe have the space to be flexible, where if you need it, you can easily change it to an office space if you like, and then end of the day you can always turn that back into your living space.
Yeah, I think John did mention when we were doing this exercise previously, like could it be such that it's such a long tail? This new normal is going to be so long term that when people start to build houses now, that they start to consider these things in their schematic plans from the beginning. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's something that's quite interesting to see how it will play out in the next X number of years.
Will we see the sales of like those Soho type designs and units and property go up because everybody is trying to future-proof themselves and work from home?
Mhm.
I don't know, but personally, I also feel that like through this experience of like actually working from home for what now it's almost like coming to a fourth month, I believe. Um, that I think a lot of the challenges that were mentioned earlier, like okay, like distracting and all that, like it takes time for one to actually grapple with the challenge and to slowly like find little solutions to kind of overcome it. So, like for example, like right now, I'm a lot more comfortable working from home. Maybe the rest can also chime in on how they are feeling right now compared to, let's say, 3 months or even 4 months ago. Like I'm even thinking that when the day comes where the office can be actually reopened and we can go back to office to work, would I actually rather that or not?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Caching, but I think when the first stage of working from home did happen, I think we did have like this policy in our office, right, there where it was quite like a flexi place kind of policy whereby we would also work from home on certain days. I think we did have some sort of, I don't know about you guys, but we had like this kind of glorified idea about working from home, right? Like one day of a week, I get to spend it in a cafe or at home, and I don't have to like dress up and all that kind of stuff. And then slowly, as the thing went on, and you start to really, I mean, obviously the grass is always greener on the other side, right? You start to really miss the office. Like you start to miss like I personally miss the pantry and the balcony a lot. Yeah, so that's. I mean, I think mentally, however, like I think for at least for us, I think we did do a good job of continuing like just like office banter while being online. So I think that really helped psychologically. Like we would have a meeting, and then after the meeting, we would just stay on for another hour or so and just do our own work, but have that conversation that would run in the background and stuff like that as well. In terms of, I mean, that's a great idea as well for the point on the left, right? Ensuring some sort of work-life balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like on to that point as well, like in the past 4 months, I think that like what we've done is we're starting to adopt different formats in which we translate what used to happen in more like face to face kind of like encounters to something more virtual. So like when it's someone's birthday, what do you do? How do we like, I don't know, surprise this guy in a Zoom call, and but which always fails, but actually do something that is the equivalent of like in the office where you come together, you open a can of beer, you kind of like give the person a present. So like these kind of like little things I believe is really part of maybe not so much work life balance anymore, but work life integration, where it just becomes one long and integrated thing as opposed to okay, I have work and I have life, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we have a question on YouTube. Asking how do you guys feel about 4-day work days? Caching, you want to take that, or John?
Work days. Okay. Yeah, I mean happy to take that. Personally,
There's only one answer.
There's only one answer.
good. I hope. Yeah, I mean, personally, yeah, I don't see any issue with 4 days work week, and in fact, I think that would even make you more productive than ever because now you are short of one day technically. So you need to really plan your 4 days out properly and ensure that you manage to get all your work done before your deadline and stuff. So yeah, I mean I'm all out for 4 days work week. I don't know about you guys, but I would believe the same.
Yeah, that's the danger, right? Like because we always think like 4 days, then we have like an extra day on the weekend, but we always neglect the fact that means we have one less day on the weekday to do our work. So you know what I mean? What do you think, John?
Well, I mean, I like the idea and the thought of 4-day work week very much, and I think that from a working perspective, it can certainly work. But I guess it's one of those things for me that it almost needs to be well integrated with the external factors, right? Like, for example, like, I mean, this is the classic. Your clients don't work 4 days and your clients work 5 days, or I don't know, like the banks work 5 days and we work 4 days, and for certain reasons that when we work together with them, it's very difficult to match or to actually make it work. So it's more for those kinds of like concerns that I wonder if 4-day work week will actually be feasible ultimately. But it's one of those things where I think that you don't know, you got to try it out, I guess. It's a little bit similar to this other idea that I think we once had in chemistry where while it starts to digress a little bit, but on the topic of work-life balance, I think it is totally valid. That we had this idea previously whereby, okay, like on specific days of the week, let's say every, I don't know, Monday, there are no external client meetings, and so we have actually time within the team to work on the work that we need to do, as opposed to spend time in meetings, spend time talking to clients, or basically liaison or project management with the external clients. But I think it became something that was hard to manage, or rather, like inevitably, like clients were asked to meet on that day, and then it's difficult because there's no other time slots, and if not, then you end up pushing it to next week, and then that basically screws over the timelines. So it's mostly for those reasons that like I wonder if like the 4-day work week will work. But as a colleague in the office always says, like, let's try it out, man.
Yeah, so that actually segues nicely to another question we have on YouTube from Eileen. Eileen says, agree, one less day for discussions or meetings and end up clearing backlogs on Friday. So 4-day work week is great, but the mindset needs to be changed. So full circle back to actually this working from home challenge. A lot of the solutions or the ideas that came out from our workshop did surround this idea of a mindset change. Like this new normal requires a new mindset, right? As we've been saying, this idea that just on Eileen's point as well, like we can have a 4-day work week, right? But it's no point is that if every Friday all of us are just at home answering emails, then it's still kind of like a 5-day work week, right? There isn't this idea of a stop. Yeah, so I think similarly in this whole COVID situation that we're in and working from home, personally I like to have a kind of like a stop timer in my day that okay, after this time I should focus on, I should not look at my work tabs and start looking at the Netflix tab. You know what I mean? Like it's just a hard stop on the day, so that I don't push that too far. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of it is how one can come up with these little mind hacks, if you like, right? Where you force yourself into taking these breaks. I don't know. For me, for example, a lot of it is okay. Like I know, I mean, it doesn't work well all the time, but I think it's improving. That I know between the morning when I start work at home and to lunch, I need to drink 2 cups of plain water or water, because that's the goal. And if I don't, means I'm not drinking enough water. And you force yourself, if you remember at 11:30 that you haven't drank your water, you down 1 cup and you force yourself to go and top it up. So I guess it's this kinds of mind hacks that I thought might actually be very useful in helping us to adapt to this new like change, because end of the day, it's just habits that you have that you're not used to, or like whatever you're doing previously, you're so much more conditioned to accepting it. So when it's different, then how can you accelerate your body to actually come to terms or come to grip with it? So I think it's a lot of it is that playing with the psychology and mind at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Should we move on to the next Menti slide?
Let's do. Okay. So you guys remember the how might we that we have? Hang on. It was how might we ensure productivity despite distractions or the lack of conducive environments, right? So this next Menti is about sharing any kind of solutions that you have that are related to this particular how might be ensuring productivity despite distractions or lack of conducive environment. I would also say in the true blue ideation spirit, do go wild, don't censor yourselves. Like, let's go for as much ideas as you can. So it could be what you think is a really stupid or idea that won't work. Go ahead and put it down or share it over Mentimeter.
Yeah, so I think really quite closely related to what we just talked about. The first point, set some rituals and routines, like stand up and stretch every hour. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of systems thinking, like one of our colleagues was just sharing about how do we inculcate good habits. As I think it's quite a good time for us to think about that as well. Not just like working from home and stuff like that, but in general, like maybe more applicable to the pandemic would be like how do we stop ourselves from touching our face. I know personally myself, I love touching my face. It has never been so clear to me how much I love to touch my face until now, so like it's just things like adjusting my nose ring or like just I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think we did talk about this, like is there a way that we can psychologically like nudge the behavior or rather nudge the behavior not to happen. Like, is it wearing like a 2 kilogram ring on my finger so that every time I want to touch my face, I feel that weight and it kind of cues that habit change?
Yeah, I thought like this one talking about to be honest, I think the table itself marks as the study area. So let's look at this. I thought this is interesting. So if we place it outside the living room to separate it away from the bedroom, it is a good separation between spaces. Yeah, I think this works. I guess most of the time people have their desk, if you like, maybe in their bedroom, or if you have the luxurious space, you might have a study room. So I think like it's a good idea to kind of draw a line between your rest space and your workspace. So yeah, that might work. Just a simple action of moving your furniture to the living room instead of having it into a room. So when you rest, you can have a peace of mind, whether it's watching your Netflix or the television. Yeah, great. Let's see what
Yeah,
else.
really similar to actually like some of the projects that we do regarding like wayfinding and like spatial design, like spatial UX. Like I think we did talk a lot about this when it came to like how every space has like cues to tell you what the space is for, right? Like for example, if you go to the library and you see tables whereby the chairs are all facing one direction, you know that this is definitely not a space for discussion. I think some of these principles do definitely kind of apply to this whole designing of your home workspace. Like how do we make it such that the space itself tells you that this space is for you to do work. Like this is not a space for like, chit chat or Netflix or noise. Right?
I mean, another interesting, let's say, idea over here that says regular check-in with colleagues during the day. I'm not sure, like, for the person that shared that idea, like, what you might have meant, but the way I interpret it is that for almost, because when you work at home, you're like almost socially isolated from anyone. So rather than the regular checking in with colleagues during the day for work purposes to talk about work, I saw it actually also for the reverse, whereby you actually need some social time, right? So rather than every Zoom meeting is very straight up about discussing a part of a project or actually settling some presentation, like you could also just settle a Zoom call with a colleague just to chat about something, or maybe it's lunch. So finding ways to actually bring back, I think, some of the social benefits that you used to have, or social experiences that you used to have in the current context of this, I don't know, isolated space.
I mean, like for me, or at least for Christian and myself, we'll be like just jumping on like quick calls. They say, "Hey, do you want to have a coffee? Quick 10 minutes." Yeah, sure. Then we'll just talk about stuff, talk about our day, or even with our other colleagues, lah. So I think that
Yeah.
that really helps you to. I mean, like that's what usually what we will do in the office, right? Like in the pantry, we talk about stuff. So I guess because now we are so isolated from each other. So I think we just need to find ways to continue this habit, if you like, yeah, just to keep ourselves sane.
Mm.
So we have a non-related question. Are you all hiring? I need to join you guys. I think this question is for you, John.
Um, sure. How can we talk after this?
Send an
Yeah, I mean,
email
like,
to
do
hello@capabilityteam.com.
do check us out on our website. There's a contact there. I'm sure. Like, do write to us. We always check everyone that writes in for possible like talent that we can work with. So yeah, always open to seeing new people in the team.
I'll drop the website in the YouTube chat.
Nice.
Nice. Someone is using Basecamp as well. Using work productive apps like Basecamp or whatever helps. Yeah, I think we ourselves are using
Mm.
Basecamp, and so far we find it super useful. Where you can plan your projects around and stuff.
Yeah, there's this idea of working with tools, right? Like I think for a lot of firms that are similar to ourselves, and we kind of use like a lot of collaborative tools, like whether it's Miro, like, which is like this collaborative art board that we can kind of all ideate on, or using tools like for example for UX digital design like Figma or XD, whereby everybody can kind of jump on and design at the same time. I think tools like that really did help us during this period a lot, like just to help us kind of like work on a similar artboard, and it feels like we are there. I don't know whether that makes any sense, but like psychologically, when I'm working on XD with for one of our other colleagues, it feels like it's normal. Like in the office again, like he's opposite me and we're both working on a UI design together. Yeah.
Maybe just pulling in another like interesting like discussion point here. So on screen there are actually two different kind of inputs where one says let's not confuse busy with meaningful. Productive doesn't mean getting more done. And below that 2 times is productivity is overrated, right? So I think one of the things that like I thought that we were talking about is how do we define productivity? Like how is productivity and meaningful different? Is it all about like just delivering or producing what you need to produce versus let's say the time you took to do it as a measure? Is it just about KPIs? Or are we talking about how like meaningful it's more about being able to prioritize what's important and getting those done first? So maybe that's also something that if anyone has any thoughts, we can share. How do you work?
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh wow. The catching look. I can feel you looking at me even though we're on the same screen. I mean, yeah, I guess it's as John said, right? Like what is productivity? Is productivity just me writing on my notebook, I have X amount of things to do today, and if I finish everything today, I am productive? I guess that's the quite the standard definition of productivity, right? Or is it in the case of, it's quite contextual based on the kind of work we are doing, right? I mean, if we are doing something very like more project management-y, like I need to set up calls, I need to reply emails and stuff like that. I guess this idea of productivity gets a bit like convoluted. But if it's more like I'm designing something, I need to, like for you, Kashing, I need to do a spatial design of something, or for me, like I need to map out like some sort of IA or some shit like that. That becomes more like, if I'm able to get a lot of that done, it feels very productive. You know what I mean?
I
don't know whether
the outcome, so for example, for me, if I'm doing rendering, so productivity might not mean that if I can do 10 renderings in a day, that is productive, but it's the quality of that rendering that I'm producing as well. So I do agree that if you are working on things that there's more to do with project management, I need to ensure that today I need to complete 10 tasks. So completing that 10 tasks is equals to me being productive. But I think on top of that, beyond the quantity is also the quality of work lah. So I can produce 10 different renderings, but if the quality is just like not there, then I don't think it's productive as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, if it's like, it's how do we, like, it's hard to quantify or qualify like PM stuff, right? Like, because it's like, I need to set up a Gantt chart, and it's very hard to, I mean, I mean, yes, you can set up a bad Gantt chart, but it's not the same as like a rendering, right? Like if you're just doing 10 renderings for the sake of doing 10 renderings, then it's very easy to feel unproductive. You know what I mean? So when you're doing something that is more like creative, quote unquote, in nature, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's see.
I'm also conscious of time, so I'm going to move back to the presentations for the last segment. I do note the resume that is coming in immediately, so we'll keep a lookout on that. Okay, great. Thanks so much for all the great input and questions. Actually, like I hope like you guys have also had as much fun as we did talking about some of these notions that you guys have sent in. So from the table, actually the flip table was kind of designed and was ready to go. We moved into the development phase of it. So we do have a production partner that we worked with previously in 2016 when we did the flip table. So working with them again this time around, I think thankfully they were very much aligned with doing this project on a FOC basis where it's not for commercial benefit, but it's really more for benefiting the community. So we managed to strike up a kind of like a deal or a project with them whereby we would roll out and produce 100 sets and bring it out through partners, volunteer welfare organizations, etc., to these families. So, but before that, we really had to make sure that the idea worked, right? And Trywall being the actual production experts, their cardboard experts, we worked very closely with them to translate the concept from a concept into a production-ready final design. So one of the things, for example, we had to do from the get-go is really how can we optimize this design for production? So these for the more like maker and tech type people out there listening in, I mean, it's really about understanding, okay, the raw cardboard materials come in a certain size, and these sizes are kind of defined by actually cargo containers because that's how they ship in. So that gave us actually the basis to, okay, to optimize production, we need to at least make a whole set within one of these, otherwise there's wastage, etc. So working with Trywall, we did just that. And also building out and also understanding certain limitations within their production process. So for example, there's a certain like resolution to the way that the machine can actually cut the cardboard. And so for example, one of the very like initial designs we had whereby it's not maybe a cactus accessory that we are designing, but it was, let's say, an animal, let's say an elephant. And the level of detail and the shape of an elephant became a little bit too difficult or challenging for the machine to actually cut out. So reworking or understanding those kinds of constraints, we had to kind of readjust parts of the design to make sure it can be produced. And also, very importantly, having a more tangible way to test out the design. So not just in terms of the dimensions and its usability, but also in the safety issues, right? Making sure that this thing would definitely fit a 12-year-old with a good amount of buffer such that it won't actually collapse. Or putting, let's say, a laptop on it and the table just suddenly like drops to the floor. So making sure that we work very closely with Trywall to make sure all these like mechanisms and slots that these cardboards are coming together actually are really rigid and can load up to 100 kilos of weight. Then we also pack the sets in a way we help to pack the sets in Trywall factory in time for some of the partners to actually pick up from their factory. So at this stage, really, we were looking for partners to help us to reach out to these families. So we went a bit on a press and media coverage drive and focused all our efforts into building awareness for the project and to seek partnerships. So thankfully, I think thanks to Christian's media network and his contacts, we actually managed to reach out or get the project out on Singapore's national newspaper, the Straits Times, some digital magazines such as Lifestyle Asia, Honeycombers, A Magazine, and they featured not only the project but also some of the very early adopters of the table, where we actually have some of these photos that these children are using the tables and some verbatim quotes as well, which I'll share in a bit. So the Straits Times article really helped to like open the floodgates a little bit for some of these partners to kind of reach out to us because they know about the project and they know families that need such an intervention. So one of the partners that we work with, just wanted to highlight is this other NGO called Engineering Good. So one of the reasons why I'm mentioning them is because one of the challenges that I always felt on the home-based learning table was that if kids don't have a laptop or tablet, then there's not much that we can do with a table too. So thankfully, Engineering Good is also working in a very similar way to us, whereby they are refurbishing like old laptops and IT waste and hardware to kind of put together working laptops for families in need. So they reached out to us, and right now we are almost in talks to finalize whereby we can actually put together a laptop together with a home-based learning table and put that out to families that need both. Yeah. So at the moment, I think we are talking to about 8 different, or rather we are working with 8 different welfare organizations, and we have put out about 80% of that 100 sets out there in families. Maybe just also worth mentioning here is that one of the things that we really focus when we talk to a potential partner is who are the profile of these families that they will be able to bring the tables to. We have our own target profile and our internal criteria, but working with each individual partner is also very insightful because they have the kind of ground knowledge and they know these families like intimately because they have a whole network of volunteers that actually like are in contact with these families on a regular basis. So their feedback to us is also great. Like for example, one of the feedbacks that they have already given us is some of these families are really challenged on having space in the house. So is that something that like maybe the flip table can actually kind of like address as well in the next revisions of design? So speaking of feedback and improvement, like together with the partners, like we try to make sure that each of these families also complete this user feedback and questionnaire, where we hope to actually understand where the flip table is working and more importantly, where it's not. So in the version 2, should we get more sponsorship to actually make more production of the flip table, we can address some of these issues as well. And in these partners as well, a lot of them are really open. So they are sharing with us and we have permission to actually use some of these verbatim quotes and images of some of the families that are benefiting from the home-based learning table at the moment. So far, so good. And I think almost serendipitously, the cardboard material provided this affordance, right? So as you can see in the quote over there, like a day after receiving the table, she told me to put a tarp on the table to protect it. And this was something that I think the parent of this 11-year-old girl really valued about how the the home-based learning table is also letting her daughter learn how to actually look after her belongings and actually have a more sense of ownership, which is what we actually wanted to achieve as well. This other quote here, wanted to share it as well, because there are similarities where it's about, emphasizing on the responsibility to look after the table because it's cardboard and it needs proper care. This also talks about the idea of allowing the kids to design the table themselves. So like draw up, let's say, the side of the table or draw up the top of the table to kind of like use as a medium to actually express their creativity or their individual styles. So this again is something that like for us was a great like validation or verification that the cardboard is actually something that can be very appropriate for children at that age. And this is something that is difficult to be achieved using a more, let's say, typical material such as like wood or plastic in terms of production. Yep, and in a way that kind of brings us to the end of the presentation and the sharing about what the home-based learning table is. And in parting, we wanted to just also open up any questions that you guys might have on home-based learning table and or any other questions that you had in the process. We're happy to take any questions at this point. Any questions?
Yeah, feel free to send it in on YouTube or even any of the. If you guys have your Mentimeter still open, you guys can send it there as well. Maybe just bringing it back to the question from just now. There's a question that says, when it comes to productivity, is it quality time or quantity? Quality time or quantity? I think more relating to like identifying and blocking out productive time of the day for work and leaving the rest of it for chilling. I'm assuming.
So Chris, you're referring to the Mentimeter inputs, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go back to that on the screen.
I think it's on the top. There we go.
This one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that goes back to a question of like the productivity question, right? Like maybe like it's productivity is quite subjective in that sense, and even to the sense that some people are a lot more functionable or functioning in the morning. Like I know for a fact that there are some people in our office that are super like morning people, like wake up and at 9 a.m. they are like ready to do all the work, and then there's the rest of us. I'm speaking for myself at least. The rest of me, that is quite that takes a while for me to like kind of wean into my productivity mode, right? Like coffee and like sitting down and staring into blank space for at least 5 minutes and then work. You know.
I mean, maybe one of the things that I find that on the topic of like ensuring productivity is like I find that when I'm in work from home mode, like it is very productive because I actually get a lot done if I see work done as not just let's say office or project work. So like for example, integrating things like okay, in the morning I can send the kids to school. When I come back, I might have to run an errand for this, and then in between, you plan your work as well. And then at night, like I mean, sure, like you may end up working more hours eventually, but at the same time, because sometimes you take some time out in the day to do some of these errands, at night you can also make up for it. So in a way, like your time becomes much more flexible. At the end of each day, you actually achieve more because you're actually doing stuff that answers to both work as well as your personal life in a sense.
Right.
Versus from the office, you have less of that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I mean maybe just to bring it a bit closer to the home-based learning table, I think maybe John, as a father, what do you feel are certain challenges that you are facing as a parent when your kids are basically doing all these Zoom calls and all that at home for their home-based learning?
Okay, for me, there's I don't really face that much of a challenge in terms of my kids doing home-based learning. Yes, like I have a daughter that's 2 years old. She she does Zoom classes back then. Like now she's resumed school. And when that happens, I mean, it's just a question of putting out the laptop, putting out a tablet on the table, sitting here on a chair. But I happen to have the luxury of having a helper as well. So she helps a lot in terms of managing it. So I can really empathize with parents who, let's say, may not have helpers. And you're supposed to be in a Zoom call yourself, and the kid is supposed to be in a Zoom call, and he or she is obviously not like disciplined enough to go through it. So I think a lot of the challenge here is really bearing in mind that people or individuals have like their own, like, let's say, errands or commitments or family commitments they need to do, that the office needs to be also very much accommodating of that situation. Like the other day when I was doing a call on Zoom with a party that was based in US or in New York, and obviously the time zones are challenging, so it was like I can't remember now, like an 8:30 p.m. call, and that was the kind of the time where my daughter goes to sleep. So like when we're doing the call, she enters the call, people can see kind of her head next to me. Then you start asking questions like, is that something that is acceptable in a professional like setting? Like, is that going to make it like any less credible? Like, so I think that like times are changing, and like these situations are things that more and more professional scenarios are going to have to start accepting.
Right, we got a question from YouTube from Daniel. What's your vision for the HBL table?
Okay, the vision for the HBL table is really, at least right now, I don't think we are like have a very long or grand roadmap for the particular project, but the intent right now is actually a few things. So the first is really setting up a platform to accept some kind of sponsorship such that the home-based learning table can actually exist beyond these 100 sets, and it can extend the production and reach out to more families. So that's the immediate task I think we're looking at. I think the next step from there is actually working with different partners. So for example, there have been some, let's say, creative individuals and even organizations that have started to reach out to us to talk about how they can collaborate with us to do a version 2 of it, because they have some ideas that the home-based learning table can evolve into. So much as I think we are also in the spirit of seeing how we can improve the design, we're just seeing how we can actually start to work with more parties to bring them on board the home-based learning table project and include them in it for a version 2 or even possibly a version 3. So link back to the feedback that we are getting from the families and the partners that we work with, we're going to use that as the basis to work with these partners to do basically a more effective version.
Yeah, I think on that point as well, I think it's useful to point out that we are in the process of setting up a platform that would help. I think a lot of people that we have spoken to, or when we shared it on social media, they want to help. They want to get involved, whether it's through like money donations or by helping lending us their resources. We are in the process of setting up a platform for that. But until then, if you guys head over to our website, which is chemistryteam.com, you guys can get in touch with us via email, and we will definitely get back to you guys once we've set up a platform that will facilitate this need for us. Right, Cashing?
Yep.